At first glance, Dhurandhar looks like a typical patriotic spy film. There's a secret mission, a dangerous infiltration, and a hero risking everything for his country. But if you look closely at the screenplay, something very interesting is happening. Because Dhurandhar is not actually structured like a spy movie. It's structured like a gangster origin story. And that single storytelling decision is what makes the film feel so intense, unpredictable, and addictive to watch. Let's break down the screenplay trick behind Dhurandhar so you and I can understand the master storytelling of Aditya Dhar in his landmark movie. Most spy films follow a very predictable structure. A threat appears. The government sends a trained agent. The agent completes a dangerous mission, and by the end of the story, the hero returns home after saving the day. The protagonist remains morally stable throughout the story. Even when things get difficult, the hero never truly becomes part of the world he infiltrates. But Dhurandhar flips that formula. Instead of telling the story of a spy completing a mission, it tells the story of a man slowly transforming into the very monster he was sent to destroy. And this is where Aditya Dhar uses some screenplay techniques that truly transform moments into magic. If you map Dhurandhar's story structure, it looks almost identical to a classic gangster film. Think about the progression of the protagonist. First, he enters a dangerous criminal world. Then, he starts at the very bottom, observing and learning how the entire ecosystem works. Slowly, he builds relationships, gains trust, and proves his usefulness. With every step forward, he gains more power. But there is a cost. The deeper he gets into this world, the more he begins to lose his own identity. This structure has been used in some of the most famous crime films ever made. The hero rising through the ranks, becoming more powerful, and the very powerful people he once served. And that is exactly what Dhurandhar aims to be doing. Except instead of a street criminal entering the mafia, it's a spy entering the underworld of terror networks and organized crime. This storytelling choice creates two powerful effects on the audience. First, it creates tension. In a normal spy movie, we know the hero will stay morally clean. But in Dhurandhar, we are just never sure. Every decision he makes pushes him deeper into violence and manipulation. The audience begins to wonder, is he actually becoming one of them? Second, it creates emotional complexity because the hero's success is also his moral downfall. Every victory brings him closer to completing the mission, but also farther away from the person he once was. This duality keeps the audience constantly engaged. We're watching a man win while also watching him slowly unravel himself. The midpoint of the story is where the transformation becomes undeniable. Up to this point, the protagonist is still pretending to be someone else, but eventually the line between the disguise and the real person starts to blur. He stops simply observing the system. He begins influencing it. He begins controlling it. And once the hero starts shaping the criminal world instead of just surviving in it, the story changes direction completely. Now the question is not whether he will complete the mission. The question really becomes, what kind of person will he be when the mission is over?
घायल हूं, इसीलिए घातक हूं।
By the end of the film, the transformation is complete. The man who entered the underworld as an outsider now stands very close to the top of it. He has defeated his number one enemy, and there's a lot many on his list. He is starting to take control of the system, but the victory feels unsettling because the hero hasn't just infiltrated the monster, he has become powerful enough to replace it. And that is the real brilliance of the screenplay. This balance, this story begins as a mission, and this balance between the mission and the victory is what keeps everyone at the edge of their seat. But it ends as the birth of a new force within that world. Dhurandhar feels different from most action films because it secretly follows a completely different storytelling blueprint. It uses the rise of power structure of a gangster epic inside the framework of a patriotic spy thriller. And that combination creates a protagonist who is far more complex, unpredictable, and morally dangerous than the typical action hero, which is exactly why the story stays with you long after the movie ends.
Yeah, you ready or not?
मान बलोच उर्फ रहमान डकैत के सरदार
एसपी मकसूद कैसे हो मियां?
دوس عندي خوش